Goddag, gåsen day. So, war. Yes, I'm more about politics and and culture more than faith, but religion in terms of culture. But this has a role. I mean, look at the things. Look at this historically, and you don't just have to go by the written record, or the historical, or the archaeological record as well. Now, war has always played a part. No, I do understand the ideals of peace in our time. That's peace in that time. That's not just that's not necessarily going to hold because things evolve, things change. Now, whilst there have been many wars and bits and pieces, it's been relatively peaceful since the Second World War, and especially I mean even during the Cold War, it wasn't as bad as it really could have got. Yeah, and didn't break out into proper open war, not really. But I think we're heading that way again. I don't actually criticise Speaker Pelosi for going to Taiwan. If I was her, I'd probably done the same thing. What I can't decide is whether or not it would have been best to have coordinated this with Pentagon and the White House first. It's possible they might not have let it go, but it seems from what I've been seeing that she doesn't. It doesn't. If she wants to go and do something, she wants to go and do something. It's just that's how it seems to be with her. If it was more, if it could have been done better with coordination with the White House and the Pentagon, then maybe she should have done that. But it's important that whilst I don't, I'm quite in many ways anti-American. I'm not. As I said, I'm not an absolutist. So if I say I'm anti-American, it's in a context of a particular subject. But in this case, I'm not. I'm not anti-American. In this case, this isn't about America. This is about democracy sticking up for one another. Now, as a democracy, could America be better? Fucking yes. Wow. But is it an autocracy? No, it isn't. Trump tried to make it so, and he had a lot of problems because of it. In a weird way, Boris tried it here. Look what happened to him. So, and knowing the history of it, I don't side with the CCP's claim. I just don't. It's that whole I believe something, so you have to believe it too. Now, again, when it comes to facts, it's a bit different. There has to be there has to be some kind of differentiation between the kind of, you believe what I believe what you believe. I believe something, but you have to believe it too. But when it's the facts, don't fucking argue with the facts. There's no point. You can argue views around the facts, but if you're going to argue with the facts in of themselves, you are stupid. I think I've said this before. You don't get to. This is supposed to be a free and open democracy. You don't get to decide that kind of thing. Now, I suppose China isn't that way. And there is something to be said for democracy is Western. Now, that's not to say that certain ideals that are in common with democracy aren't Western, that are Western. That's not necessarily true. But the structure that Western societies associate with democracies, that is Western. It's born, democracy comes from Greece. The word democracy comes from the old Greek. So, we can't be overly biased about this stuff. We've got to be realistic. Coming back to Pelosi again, she I personally I do believe she's done the right thing. And yes, war can be bad, but we're at a situation where things need to change. And looking at the realistic aspects of war situations, Russia's not a good place. Not really. It's dangerous, but it's not as strong as it thinks it is. China, it's a bit opposite almost to Russia, but it's not struggling with its military. However, it's a bit inefficient in certain ways. I won't go into it here, but I've seen many things that different, with different views. The Chinese are very confident in their military, and I can see why. It's huge. But you can't just rely on numbers. I mean, if their military was that good, why haven't they already taken Taiwan? That's because they know it's not that easy. And I think they know that their military is not as efficient as it could be. They're just not doing as much as they should to do it. They're not doing as much as they should about it. If I was them, So in a realistic situation, I would still probably see the West as winning in a world war. It would annihilate a lot of people. But how far do we let the current state of affairs go? That's my question. When it comes to war, right? And people say to me, we should stay away from war whatsoever. How far do we let this current state of affairs go? Do we just let Russia do what it wants? What's the point in making grand statements if you're not going to back them up? There's no honour in that. and Britain's supposed to be, it supposedly sees itself as the honourable country. Questions, but you know, in this day and age, war's going to look different, a little bit different. And a part of me, and it sickens me to think this, but a part of me is interested to see what happens. It just is. It's the same kind of curiosity as looking back at the wars of history. Do I ultimately want war? Not really, no. No. But want and need, two different things. Mostly. I think in this case we might have to go to war. I do. And I've been citing for months and months to people around me that we need to be putting more into our military. We need more effort into the military. Johnson's an absolute disgrace when it comes on that regard. He might have been able to do the Churchill thing, statesman, going a bit boosting the Allies and stuff, but it's disgraceful watching him in committees, the committees that the committee meetings I've watched and his responses at PMQs is disgusting. It's the same problem I have with that. It all boils down to again the idealism problem. I can see the values in idealism, and you can aim for the ideals, some of the ideals on it, but you've got to be practical about it. You can't just be a dreamer about it. Because there are always some practicalities. There really are. There are always practicalities to this stuff. And we're not in a good, from what I can gather, we're not really in the best state to be going to war. Not really. I mean, Germany's making a better effort. They're in a much worse position, but they see the problem, and it's like the Tories don't. I'm not entirely sure what Starmer's plan is on the military yet. I haven't heard, but as I've heard Phil Morehouse say before, right now we're not in the run for a general election, not technically. So policies are going to come bit by bit. I'm waiting to see what his military policies are going to be, because, like I said before, I didn't agree with Corbyn and his nuclear weapon policy, purely because it's not, and it might sound a bit pat, but not right now. It's not quite the right time. Not right now. We just leave ourselves open to a nuclear strike without. If we don't have the threat of it back right now, and I know it does in modern context sound ridiculous, but the mad doctrine still kind of works. There's the reason why we haven't got people launching nukes at each other right now. We've got the threats of it, but it's not happening. Why? Because you want to chuck a nuke at your main enemy. It's not going to be good for you. Bit different with Ukraine, I suppose. That's a unique situation, I think. But you've now got things really heating up in Ukraine. America's showing that they can hit what they want to hit in Afghanistan. this is getting very nervy now, and I worry that that not enough people are taking this seriously enough. It's been building and building and building and building, and everyone keeps going, "Oh, but it won't happen." Oh, look yeah, but like people said this before, and then it all kicked off into the two major world wars we had. Let alone the 19th century. So the 1900s and the 1800s, to be fair. It's ridiculous. Don't. Sorry, the let alone the 18th and 19th centuries were, just as war filled as the beginning of the 20th. Quite a while of relative peace. It's not going to last. And with the increasing prevalence of polarization in many, not just Western, many more highly developed nations, I think this gets more and more likely that we come to war. We're gonna find it very difficult. We're finding it difficult with the situation as it is now. Imagine when it gets to war. And I do think we're going to get to that point. I couldn't predict right now when it could happen, but at this trajectory, it could be in the next 5 years, and that's scary. It's really heating up, and I do hope that it doesn't get much worse, although I do see it getting a lot worse. I promise that there's going to be more fun subjects, but with the Taiwan subject coming up, if that was something I would put it. When it comes to again, from a pagan cultural point, we're not all about peace and love. There's and pacifism. We all see the need for war, to defend our country, defend our land. And if we could possibly keep the bloodshed off of our own land, the better. But I can't promise this. If the need should come, then, fight we must. You can't just let it happen. I hope everyone has a good day. Please bring this up in conversations with people. Again, along with the other subjects that I come up with, this is stuff that you can bring up with not from my standpoint, but from your own standpoints. This needs to become a more open debate because it seems to be overlooked. Even though the news will bring it up, the conversation's not taken seriously enough, I don't think. Well, I hope everyone has a good afternoon, as I said. Haran Godag. From me, Freya and Sif. And blessed Meth.